Hello guys, this is your Uncle Bigfish, and on this video we're gonna be playing with Corsair. So recently she's got some buffs. So yeah, if you see here on the patch notes, I'll just open this real quick. There is a buff, another buff that was not written in the patch notes. So if you look here, it doesn't really say anything here. I'll just go all the way to the very top. Corsair, Ferocious Wave, Wave Slasher, Whirling Waters, Flying Wave, Tumultuous Wave, and Plunder. So there's actually one more buff that they didn't mention. Yeah, this is something we know. So yeah, thank God you guys are watching this video, or else you guys probably won't know about this. And yeah, feels good, bro. Okay, so this one will be the buff on Descending Tide. Yeah, Descending Tide gets a more base power on this skill. So the skill actually gets more base power. If I recall correctly, I'm not quite sure what the new damage is, but if I get my memory right, it's 669, and you're gonna multiply that by 2 because it gets 2 hits, and then you get the Flow Tide Slasher. It applies 150% damage to Descending Tide. So we'll put it to 1.338. Yeah, this one will be multiplied by 1.5. So now the damage is and it adds another 3 hits. So yeah, this skill is effectively a 4,200% skill. The base power is 4,200. That is the base power of this skill now. That is also already included with the 5% PvP damage from Flow Tide Slasher, which is the area of effect. You see there the thing, the swirly thingy, yeah, on the floor. So that's what it does. Alright, so I think there's not really a lot to talk about. I'll just explain a little bit about the class, and we'll do some arenas later on. So first of all, this class, in my opinion, after the buff, is actually pretty good. This class is actually really good. Like, I think for some time now, her weakness has always been that she is very weak at dealing damage. Her damage used to suck, like really bad. And I think the main culprit of that is this. The skill Descending Tide is a bound on hit. So if you get hit by this skill, you get the enemy get bounded, and you probably got like 2 more. You get like 2 slashes of Judgment of the Sea before everything ends and the enemy stands up. And that was a problem. I think if this was a knockdown or a knockup, the skill would be a lot better. At least that's what I think. Alright, let's talk about the first skill. It's going to be Ferocious Wave. This thing knocks back on the first hit and knocks down on the last hit. This thing has Seret or All, although I would probably say Seret is really good. So you can definitely try putting Seret on this skill. Yeah, the skill has pretty good base power. Base power is somewhere around 2. Let me just check that real quick. So it gets 17%. You can multiply that by 10, so 170 base power. So it's going to be 513 plus 170, making this a 683 base power. And you multiply that by 2, because that's what it does per hit. So it's going to be 683 times 2, making this a 1.366% base power on 1 hit, and it hits twice. So you multiply that by 2, making this skill effectively a 2.7k% base power skill. So this skill is actually, it hits pretty hard for sure. It hits pretty hard, yeah. This thing has Seret and All. Although I would say Seret is pretty good because this class is really good at stalling. So you want to play around that power. Yeah, you want to stall people out. And you are a pure super armor skill in the arenas, so you might want Seret, so you get more sustain, I would say, yeah. Next will be the Wave Slasher. Now this one was previously used as just a PvE skill, and it still is. Unfortunately, the skill does not have a lot of base power, so it's pretty much a waste to use this on like for PvP. Even for damage filler, it's kind of lacking. It deals very low damage. Yeah. Next will be Judgment of the Sea. Now this one is gonna be your main stab, yeah, or your super tier attack power. This thing also heals, so it's quite nice, yeah. It heals 95, and you're gonna add another 40 into that, making this effectively heals you for, let me check real quick. This thing should heal you for about 135. Yeah, 135 per hit. I'm not quite sure how many instances of hits that it heals, but it should probably sit somewhere around 6. Yeah, probably around 6 instances. So 135 times 6, 810 healing. Not great, but not too bad, I would say. It's not too bad, yeah? It's got Seret, but I would probably say Ahib is better, because this class, although this class have pretty good, like, sustain and all that, this class doesn't really have a lot of damage, so you kind of want to keep this on Ahib, because when it procs, it hurts quite a bit, yeah? Now, let's just check how much base power this thing does. This thing gets 10% per level, so 10 times 10, that's 100. So at max level, at level 10, it'll be 100 plus 315, making this a 415 per hit. Multiply that by 3, so 1.2, and multiply that by another 2, because it hits twice, making this a 2.5k% damage skill. So it hits pretty hard, and it's also pretty fast, yeah? So that's definitely something you can try out. Now, next will be Whirling Waters. This thing was recently buffed, yeah? So this thing deals a daze on hit and knockdown on last hit. This thing hits 4 times and has a pretty decent base power. It's not great by any means. Like, it's not great at all, to be honest. So I don't recommend using this for arenas as well, probably just for PvE. It does have AP on hits and crit chance increase, so it's quite nice. But still, the skill just lacks base power. So it's if this was a Seret, probably think about using it, but if it isn't, then probably not, yeah? Alright, so now we have this Riding Waves. Now, this is a very funny skill. If you look at this quickly, this thing has a flow, and this is one of those skills that if you turn it off, it has super armor in the arenas, but if you turn it on, it doesn't have super armor in the arenas, and the whole skill changes. So this is what it looks like with the super armor, without the flow. It looks like that. That's it. Alright, that's it. It gets a 2-second cooldown reduction if you turn the flow off. So making this a 5-second cooldown skill. But if you turn on the flow, it's gonna look like this. So she will swim, and it goes for a long time, and it dazes on the last hit. That's what it does, basically, yeah? It does that, pretty much. And when you have the swimming, if you turn on the flow and it turns to this, you don't have super armor in the arenas. So make sure to turn it off if you're playing this for arenas. Do not turn it on. You must turn it off, alright? Alright, next will be Flying Wave. Now, this is one of your best skills, and it was recently buffed as well. This skill has a base power of, let me check, this thing gets 22% per level, so making this 220% increase at max level. So this is going to be 220 plus 650, making this an 870% base power skill. You will multiply that by 3, making this 2.6k% damage base power skill. Now, this is not bad. For a super armor skill, this is not bad. And this is actually one of your skills that you will use a lot in your arenas, because this skill has so much utility. You can use this as a stalling method, you can use this to break forward guard, you can use this to outplay grabs, you can use this for a lot of different things. And this is a really, really cool skill. Like, a lot of people underestimate what the skill can do. And it's got so much utility. It gives people a question. Like, when are you gonna come out? Are you gonna come out now, like instantly, or are you gonna stall it out? You give this confusion to people, and this confusion allows you to become a threat, because it makes people waste their super armor just to preemptively, because they don't know when you're gonna come out. And you can play around that. You can bait people to think that you're the kind of people who will come out quickly, and then on the next one you will stall it out, and it makes people question what you're gonna do. And when that happens, people will get dry just spamming their super armor skills. That's a really strong, a very strong mechanic. Yeah. Alright, so this one also has reduced crit chance, so it's really nice. It makes this by itself is actually one of the better forms of defense. By having crit chance reduction, you nullify, you reduce the chance of someone to crit you. And in case you guys don't know, critical hits make up for about 60% of your base power, your total damage output. So when someone cannot crit, it dwindles their damage output by quite a high margin. Alright, it also decreases DP, so enemy gets softer, and this is actually quite good in normal arenas or Karkia for competitive play customs. Yeah, this is really nice. I think this goes all the way to 50%, like 50 DP if I recall correctly, around that area I would say, yeah, or 45 around the area. Very useful, very useful. Yeah, I think it's 40 though, I think. Alright, next will be Tumultuous Wave. This thing is, well, just like that. It doesn't have any particularly good qualities. Its base power is low, just a farming skill. Alright, this is what it looks like. Alright, next will be the skill Descending Tide. Now this is your main stab, and also one of your highest damage skill. Now what it does is, as I've explained already, it deals a bound and you can jump. Yeah, this thing does have a chain to Flying Wave, but I don't recommend doing that, because if you use Riding Wave and then you chain it to Descending Tide, you will miss out on the slash. That slash. What will happen is you will come out from the Flying Wave and then you will only do the flow. So you're missing out on the base skill. The slash will not happen and it wastes the cooldown. That's a waste. So try not to do that a lot, yeah? Very bad. You can put this on all or you can put it in Seret, it doesn't matter, but I think Seret might be better just for some added sustain. Yeah. Next will be Pirate Tricks. This is one of the better skills that she's got. This thing decreases enemies' movement speed and increases your own movement speed. So this thing is really nice. This thing allows for some kind of outplay. You can outplay people. This thing comes out very quickly. The daze comes out, the stun comes out really fast. So sometimes people might not see it coming, and it's pretty risky, but at some point you might want to try it out. It's quite useful. Alright, and finally there will be this skill, Soaring Wave. Now this thing is very painful. I think a lot of people like underestimate what this skill can do. This still does this. So you will summon the water from the ground and it deals a knockup on hit. It does not have any branches, which I think is intentional, because if this skill has the branch, it might deal some absurd amounts of damage. I will show you here what it does. Yeah, so it gets 21% base power per level, so you can multiply this by 10 to get maximum. This is a 210% increase. So 210 plus 630 will be 840, and you multiply this by 3, making this a 2.5k base power skill, which you can spam. You can spam the living shit out of this skill. Like, I'm not kidding, it's very strong. Yeah, and you can also use this as a means of you can use this skill for a lot of different reasons. You can use this as a means of combo. You can use this as a bait. You can use this as an aggressive pressure. You can use this for many different ways, which I really like. And this thing also chases. Yeah, if someone goes invisible while the water is chasing, it will chase them until it gets out of bounds, basically. Yeah, it's quite a strong mechanic to have as well. It's not something a lot of people know about, so it's quite nice. Next will be Captain's Orders. This thing is your buff skill, typical buff skill, nothing special. AP plus, heal, and evasion. Yeah. Alright, next and the most important part of this video will be the passive. Attack the enemy and steal away their buffs. That's typically what it looks like. Now, Plunder is a very strong passive for arenas that are normal arenas or balanced stats. Yeah, very good. So now if you see her, Self AP DP plus 25 for 15 seconds, does not count as increased AP DP skill enhancement. So this thing is separate buff. It's a separate buff, okay? Now, this thing by itself gives you 5% dealt and damage reduction. So this class have a base 5/5 damage reduction and damage dealt, and also 15% monster damage. And what happens is, this class will reduce an enemy's AP DP by 25 for 15 seconds. You might not think that that's a lot, but actually that is a lot because of what I'm gonna explain after. Increase AP DP skill enhancement disabled. Now, in case you guys don't know, like all these skills that you are casting, all these bullshit, yeah? Like when you cast skills like this, increase DP, imagine if your enemy cannot get any of those buffs. Now what will happen is, you will eventually have more stats than your enemy, because you're stealing their stats and you're disabling them from getting more. So you'll have a much stronger stat than your enemy after you did this, okay? Now, what does this do? Increase, now this thing also has a PvP damage dealt and damage reduction -5%. So enemy hits you 5% less damage and the enemy reduces 5% less damage. So in total, you will actually hit 10% harder and you will reduce your damage taken by 10% as well, which makes this class effectively having 10% damage dealt and 10% damage reduction. Now, this is not something that a lot of people will understand. That's why I explained this very thoroughly, so everyone will understand what I'm talking about, okay? Very useful skill. I think this passive is very strong in normal arenas, especially normals, Kakia and custom, yeah? For sure, for balanced stat gaming, I think this is quite nice. The only bad thing is you cannot plunder multiple targets at once, which is the only sad part about this passive. Because I think that if you can plunder multiple people, it's gonna be pretty crazy, especially if there's no cap on the people you can plunder. Like, think about it this way, like, you say in a war, you can go in and you use like one skill and everyone gets plundered. Everyone will be like negative like 25, yeah? Everyone have like negative 25, and just say you affect like 15 people, we'll see, okay? 15 people, they lose like 25%, like 25 DP and AP. And then like say you get plundered by like 10 Corsair, you lose like effectively 200, 25, like 200, like 200 and 250 AP and 250 DP. If you get plundered, yeah, that's basically like 500 CP missing already. It's quite crazy, yeah, if you think about it. So I think that's the purpose to why they don't allow this skill to have multiple targets, because I think it's gonna be a bit OP. It's quite OP, guys, quite OP. Alright, so I think that's gonna be about it for this for an explanation regarding this class. My verdict is, I think this class is really good. I think, is this class broken? I don't think so. Is this class OP? Is this class anti-meta? Yes, this class is probably around the top tier of anti-meta. It's quite strong currently. It's got 2 forward guard break initially on the flying wave and on the descending tide. It's got 2 anti-grab as well, flying wave and descending tide. It's got a fast engage using the riding waves. It's got pretty good trading power on descending tide and flying wave, and also the skill is, this class's evasion is quite nice as well. The reason why Buccaneers the evasion is really good is because the Buccaneers gets this class's evasion. So the Buccaneers evasion is actually a carbon copy of this class's evasion, which is why it's super good. Like, her evasion is like she somersaults backwards, yeah, and the iframe is quite long on that one, which is really good, yeah, very good iframe. I think that's about it for the explanation. I think we can just move into the arenas. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys again on the next one. Enjoy the arena clips, guys.